Jo Kears is a physiotherapist with more than 20 years' experience in the management of back pain. She has a postgraduate qualification in manipulative physiotherapy and was a lecturer at Sydney University in the management of musculoskeletal disorders. For the past 12 years, Jo has worked exclusively in the area of physio-Pilates exercise for back and neck pain.
80% of the population will experience back pain at some stage during their adult life. For many, this pain will settle quite quickly. However, in some instances, it can go on to develop into a chronic condition. And even if the pain does settle quickly, what can happen is it can develop into a recurring problem, recurring time after time. The latest research into chronic back pain has found that an appropriate exercise program can be the best form of therapy and can actually help to prevent its recurrence. So why should we exercise? We now know, in the presence of chronic back pain, that quite often the core muscles will not be functioning adequately, and this is certainly something we see clinically. The core muscles are designed to stabilise the spine and pelvis. And in fact, these muscles should switch on even prior to performing any arm or leg movement to protect the spine. If these muscles are not doing their job, other muscles will come in to try and compensate. And it's these compensations that can develop into chronic pain. Fortunately, we can retrain these core muscles, and that will lead to reduction in the pain and prevention of recurrences. So what are the core muscles? If we just imagine a cylinder, with the top of the cylinder being the diaphragm, the base, the pelvic floor, wrapping around the centre of the cylinder is your deepest abdominal muscle, or the transverse abdominis muscle, and at the back, your deepest back muscles, or the multifidus muscles. These are your core muscles. Let's imagine that cylinder on our skeleton. The top of the cylinder is your diaphragm, sitting here and filling in this hollow. The base of the cylinder is made up of the small pelvic floor muscles, connective tissue and ligament, and sits down here filling in the base of the pelvis. Wrapping around the centre is your deepest abdominal muscle, your transverse abdominis. And right at the back, sitting here in these little gutters along the spine, is your deepest multifidus muscle. When these muscles are working well together, they stabilise the spine and pelvis. So why wouldn't our core muscles be functioning adequately? Well, certain conditions can affect how these muscles function. One episode of acute low back pain can have a long-lasting effect on how these core muscles work. Pregnancy can have an effect, and so can labour. And even breathing problems can have an effect on how all our core muscles work. We now also know that poor standing posture can also affect how our core muscles function. But fortunately, we can retrain these muscles, and in doing so, not only improve our pain, but also our posture. The simplest position to commence your core muscle retraining is in lying. When we're lying, we have our knees flexed to approximately 90 degrees and our feet just resting comfortably on our mat. Our knees are very slightly further apart than your feet. With the trunk position, it's essential that you maintain a subtle low back arch. What that means is you don't flatten your low back.